Hi guys, this is Old Men Talking, episode 3, and today I'm hosting with Roger and our guest host Bob Wessex as well, who was on our stream last week as well with Karma as well then. And today's topic is what do we lose when old people leave their jobs when they pass away? What do we lose from them, which we don't get from our youngsters, so to speak? So, do you want me to start with an example, Roger, or do you want to start with one, or
I,
Bob? Do
I,
you want any?
I think you should follow in, or you should lead in since you
Okay,
came
that's
up with the
fine.
topic.
Well, as probably most of you know, I'm an ex-baker, and when I started, I had people who had books, and they were saying to me, "Do the turn of the century, going back to the 1900s now? Do you know they used to make bread with oars? They used to mix the bread with oars." And I was thinking these people would be like the Rock walking around with the muscles they must have had doing it. I thought to myself, well, there must have been a way of doing it. It must have had the dough a certain consistency to actually be able to move it, with the oars. Can you imagine it? Like all machinery now. And Bob's camera's gone.
Sorry,
You still
fixing
there?
that.
Okay.
Sorry.
And so that fascinated me. I would love to have had that book, but I never did. So as time went on, I was shown the sort of mixes and the way we did things. And then fast forward to modern day, I started working in a shop called CK's, which is like a mini supermarket, but they bake bread and stuff there. First day I went in there, they were the boss was there, who was like standing in, was trying to like mold French sticks, and I watched him. I thought, oh my god, what are you doing? They were awful. They were all different. They should be like same shape all the way along, and they were like awful. I said, right, come here, let me do it. I did like 20 by the time he done 3 because that's what I was used to, brought up that way, to do it. And then I was with them for a few years, and I left, and I went back to them. And then when I go back, what happens? Now they're buying in part baked French sticks. So now all the young bakers won't know how to mold French sticks because they won't have to be taught, because now it's all done for and put them in the oven for 10, 15 minutes, take them out, they're done. Be like, I have that knowledge, and now I'm an ex-baker. I know there's still bakers doing it out there doing French sticks and what have you, but as time goes on, that knowledge is going to get lost because people are buying using part baked stuff. They don't have to do it now, and there's also machines that do them as well. That's just one example. There's also a friend of mine who's passed away now, bless him, was telling me he had a book with all the old recipes for making stuff, because now you've got like improvers for this, improvers for that. It's not natural anymore like it used to be. And he had all the recipes, and I always used to joke with him. I said, well, when you pass away, I said, let me have the book, so I take it and learn them. Sadly, he has passed away, and I don't have the book. But again, all that knowledge, he wrote all the recipes down, all the cakes he used to make, all the press. I don't know them. I don't know that they've gone now with him. I don't know their recipes. And what I've learned is when I don't bake anymore, so sadly that knowledge is not being passed on to other people. And that's just one example in one trade. There's obviously many millions of different trades and jobs and stuff like that. And it's just the thing. I think it's sad because you see all people and you think they must have so much knowledge, and yet most sadly most of that goes with them, dies with them, and it's just really sad. And that's what the idea of the show was about today, was basically that. I started thinking about the baking experience and stuff like that, and I was just thinking, well, wow, this is going to get lost, these abilities going to get lost, and obviously other ways as well. So this was my reason behind the show, so to speak. Today's episode, I mean. So, you guys got anything to share? Anything on that theme?
I've always thought about how sad it is that we don't have books that are all illustrated like those monks used to do. Like how the monks used to sit and write books out by hand. And then when we got printing presses, we just got boring old type. I always have wondered what it would have been like to be somebody back in those olden days and have one of those books in your hands and sit with it. A book that somebody else had written the whole thing out by hand and decorated and everything, and you were sitting there reading it. So yeah, it is amazing. We do have progress and we move on, but you lose, what is it? Is it that beauty, the expertise, the attention to detail?
Yeah, I agree. Same with like you see these shows on TV, like Antique Roadshow, and he's got this item that was made like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, and the level of craftsmanship is just amazing. Like now everything's all mass produced, isn't it? So again, the people who made that stuff and their knowledge is sadly probably long gone now because people don't know how to do that anymore. You know, it's kind of sad.
With me, it's I was telling you on chat earlier, it reminds me of this old show, and I remember when I was about, I couldn't have been no more than maybe 6 or 7 years old. I don't know if you guys remember the TV series Barney Miller.
I remember the name. I probably would remember if I saw it.
He was a New York police officer. He was head over a bunch of detectives. It was a comedy show. And there was a character on there named Fish, and he was getting ready to retire. And right on his final day when he was retiring, he didn't want to. He started freaking out and refusing to retire. And it just, to this day, even being 6 or 7 years old, I still remember that episode. You know what I mean? It sticks in my head. But like today, I'm not gonna say if it is that bad or not when it comes to people being forced into retirement, but that was the kind of thing that I thought of when you were talking about it. It's like, how many of these older people with a lot of knowledge are being forced into retirement, you know, without wanting to retire? And it makes you stop and think what society's come to, you know. And I've told you, I've had problems with alcohol and drugs in my younger years, you know, so my work habits didn't get even close to good all through that time period. So when I first experienced any of that, I was like maybe, I'd say about 35 years old. And that's when it first started, and it was mild. I went to a grocery store and I applied for a position in the meat department. Well, I was a trainee at the same time as what a young 23-year-old guy was, you know, and I mean, it was just the way I saw it, but I seemed to have, you know, worked better than this kid did. He was really complacent and didn't want to do his job, always clowning around, you know, and I was always doing what I was supposed to be doing. And at the end of the training period, he got the job over me, you know, and I'm like, really, you know? And the butcher that was in there even told me, he's like, the only reason why we did it was because of age, you know? And he point blank told me that. I was like, oh, really? Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, not only did they do it because of age, but they had no problem telling me about it, you know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, people would have been ashamed of that. Today, it's no big deal. And I think that's something that's messed up. Even though they do let older people work in jobs like Walmart, shaking people's hands and stuff like that, they still have their problems, you know. But that's what I got out of it. So
Yeah, it's silly really when you think about it. Like me now, if I probably went for a job, baking wise, I could probably get a job tomorrow. I still can. I've been offered loads since I finished, only because of my experience. But if I went into something I wasn't had experience in, I wouldn't have a look in anywhere. No one would give me a job now because of my age. But they think, oh, he's old, he's going to be retiring and such, and they employ some youngster who doesn't turn up half the time because they've slept in or they've been drinking the night before, and his outlook's all wrong, isn't it? You're somebody like my age, I'm going to be reliable, I'm going to turn up on time, I'm going to be there, you know? I'm not going to be I go sick all the time, unless of course obviously I am ill, but not for like there's no silly reasons or anything. But they don't think like that. They just think, oh, this person's not going to be here more than a few years. Whereas they have a youngster who might only be there 6 months anyway and move on to something else. They don't. It's just the outlook is all wrong. Society's outlook is all wrong, in my opinion. And that. But
After I came off the psychiatric medicines and started getting my life back together again and started like being able to function again in society, I went to a employment agency and tried to ask the woman if she could like help me get a job. I didn't want to just work in the supermarket stacking shelves. I wanted to do something that was stimulating and challenging, and that would help me get back into life.
yeah,
And she basically said to me, "Look, these kids that are coming out of university are so highly trained, and they have so much to offer. And you've been out of a job for 20 years. You don't even." She didn't say you don't have a chance, but she let me know that she wasn't going to bother to sign me up and put me on her books. It wasn't worth her while.
yeah.
So,
sad, isn't it?
it's amazing because you do get other skills. It's not like you were saying, Roger. There's an attitude difference that comes with age that
Yeah.
that does up your productivity and make you, I think, a valuable employee. It's that seriousness about life and that awareness that things can go wrong.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like I'm 50 right now, and everybody keeps talking about, like, even with these streams, I'm really consistent about it, And the thing of it is I had to actually teach myself to do that, and it's become a habit now. Now, when you hear the word habit and teaching yourself and learning how to be consistent and things like that, that's what old people do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you talk to somebody who's in their 20s, and most of them too in their 30s, and they just don't understand that. It's like, oh my gosh, you're trying to tell me I have to do something habitual for the rest of my life? Yeah, that's what we're telling you. You got to do that stuff. And I would have never done that. I would have never done anything like this stuff back when I was in my 20s, because it is mind-wrenching. It really is. I mean, you have to set yourself up with schedules. You have to manage your time. It's time management, you know what I mean? I can't spend too much time on one project, because if I do, it's going to sacrifice something that I need to do for another project that I've got going on. So I have to learn time management. When the heck did I ever volunteer for that crap? You know what I mean? It's just like nobody volunteers for stuff like that, but it started happening because I started doing it, and I got more and more interested in it, and next thing you know, here I am. I don't think I could have done that as a kid, though.
It's interesting, that thing of getting interested in something, isn't it? Life is quite a struggle until something hooks you. When something hooks you, you can get into that flow, and you can go with the excitement of it. When you're at school, when you start off with school, everything's interesting. And then you get to the place where everything's tedious. And then you get to the place where you can choose the things that you like. And that, I think, is when education really starts. Is when you are following your own path, one that you really have committed to. Sorry, that's not to do with what we were talking about.
No, it does.
Yeah.
It
I was
does.
just thinking. Sorry.
I was telling her it does. It actually
Yeah,
does fit
yes.
in.
I was younger. Reckless. I was in what people call a secure job in an armament depot, and I was in a rock band as well. And I left work. I went into work one day, chucked my pass on the desk. I thought, right, that's it. And actually wrote a song. It was called Rock and Roll Man, and the lyrics come through my head as I was leaving there, and it went like this: I went to work just the other day, doing a job that didn't pay. My boss gave me shit, and I told him what to do with it. And then the chorus, well, that's going through my head as I was leaving there, and I left,
Cool.
and it caused a lot of stress. But within a month, I was working 2 part-time jobs and earning more than I was in a full-time job. So it gave me comfort. I would never probably do it again. I probably won't be working full-time again anyway now. But it was like, I never got anywhere with the band, no. But it didn't matter. It helped my confidence in myself, what I could do and stuff. And then about 6 months later, I started baking. And that's when I learnt my trade, which is ultimately more valuable to me than any job, because I say even at my age now, there's a bakery up the road there. I could probably go up there, see the boss in, right, I want a job, and I may not be able to work in that particular place, but one of the other places around, I'd have a job pretty much the next day, even now. So that's more value to me than a job. Trade, I think it's to any youngster these days. I think a trade is an essential thing to really try and get if you can. If you're not, or a highly skilled job, that you can't. Not many people can do or stuff like that. That's my view on it. So there we go.
It's so interesting now that we have the internet, how there are I don't know if they always have been all through the world, but now that we have the internet, I'm aware of how many people do really bizarre, off-the-wall things. Like things that you would never think of. Like, I don't know. Like, the things that they do in astronomy. Have you seen the things that they do? They sit all day with these like videos, and they look at them looking for little differences in dark and light, because something like if a planet moves in front of a sun, it makes a little dark spot, right? Mm-hmm. So they sit and they look at all these little stars for little dark indications of a planet passing. That's somebody's job.
Yeah.
They chose to do that.
They get an education.
I'd be like at the desk. They'd find me sleeping if it was me.
That's one of those qualified university kids that you're talking about right there. You see?
Yeah, with all their equipment and the telescopes and the everything.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now,
and they get paid a lot of money to do it.
I like that song with John walking out of his old job. That right there is talent, okay? It's more than skill, that's talent. So what we need to do is we got to get that on record so that we can make it into a theme song for old men talking.
No.
Yeah, come on.
No.
Oh, I like that idea. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I have the time to do it.
He was a rock star.
I have time to do that now. Recording takes forever. I got it made a CD a few years ago with a friend of mine, music CD.
Well, the thing with the shows like this, John, is that audiences who tune in to sit and watch people chatting in their homes don't really care about having a studio version.
No.
They would just like to see you sitting there in front of your camera singing the song that you wrote yourself, and that is catchy and cool and sounds...
I wrote that song 33 years ago. I wrote that song.
That's cool.
So,
that's cool.
Oh, good.
See.
Yeah, I wrote...
Me too.
I was like in I started a band. I could play guitar, and I taught the two bassists and the other guitarists how to play. And then I started to evolve. I'd be the singer because nobody else wanted to do it. And then a friend of ours joined on drums, and I was the one like wrote the lyrics for all. I wrote a 2.5 hour set of all the songs. I've still got all the lyrics written down. Yeah, all sorts of subjects.
How amazing!
How
cool.
I did it all. There was a song about a biker, about a Hell's Angel, and we did a gig once, and we were asked to replay the song, so we did. And the next thing through a side door, a bloke came in on his motorbike and parked in front of us. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, but it was good days, but there was a lot of backstabbing. It's really hard to be in a band these days and get on with everyone. And it
Yeah.
was like the people I taught how to play then turned against me then, once they could play, they were just like, oh, there's no like loyalty, there was no thinking, oh, this guy helped me. They didn't care, so it went down the wayside then. But a few years ago, 2008, I think it was, I made a CD. It was me and another chap. It was called Phoenix Rising, What's Going On. I wrote a song called What's Going On. I wrote that song in 1990 as well, but I scrapped it because the lyrics are like really like deep. I wrote 2 songs after the band broke up. That was one of them, What's Going On. Another song, all about the end of the world, which I just like crumpled up and threw away because it was like freaked me right out. I don't know the lyrics of that. And one of the ones, What's Going On, was recorded for my CD that we did. My friend sang it, and I taught her to help with the guitar and stuff, wrote the guitar tune and everything for it. So that's
cool.
Yeah, that's quite a good song. I do like that. And if I get back to recording, I'll do my own version of that at some point.
See, that's what I'm saying too, and I think that's kind of something that is a good thought too. Like, yeah, we're getting older, but the internet's actually opening up a whole different avenue for older people too. So
Yeah.
it's all in how you look at it. You know what I mean? Because yeah, might not be able. Cause, well, I got to a certain age where it just popped in my head. It's like, why the hell are people running around wanting to always work for somebody else? And like, even if we're working for somebody else and we're getting a paycheck, why are we not investing a little bit of that into ourselves? Like, how much money did I have that was just extra that I could have invested into myself? You know what I mean? Like, take a little bit of cash and apply it towards, setting up, your own freaking platform, where you can come on here and do streams and hang out like we're doing, you know what I mean? And I never thought about that before. It was always squander my money on other stuff, you know what I mean? When in reality, I could have actually been putting it back into something that I could do for myself. And that was even before internet, heck, start a freaking garden and start selling vegetables. If you like gardening and want to sell vegetables, then do that. Do something on the side other than going from work, coming home, going from work, back and forth, doing the same thing. That's my take on that.
I got something to add about selling vegetables. Pure coincidence. I left baking to run a fruit and veg shop in a shop in Fishguard where I used to live. And I was a bit discouraged from that because the rent I was paying was extortionate. So then I started going to the Cardiff markets in the middle of the night. I'd leave about 1 a.m. I'd buy my stuff, transport it back, get the orders ready and be delivered until 5 at night. I'd do about 2 days a week, but I'd be working like 16-hour days with no sleep. And I was earning back in late 90s about £400 to £500 a week from 2 days work. But that was the summer. If I had that all year round, I'd be fine. But the winter, everyone didn't want so much stuff. I couldn't survive in it. But that was all my idea again. And I did it, and but there we go. It wasn't a long term. Didn't work out for long term for me. And I didn't have a very supportive partner back then. It was just, didn't work out that way. So, but just because you mentioned about fruit and veg, I remember then. I thought, oh yeah, I did that.
I used to
do it.
Yeah, I had a partner a husband actually, who used to go out to the banana farms around. This was in South Africa. He used to go out to the banana farms, and he used to load down his truck with these plastic crates packed with green bananas off the trees. Used to bring them back to where we were, and we had a cool room where we lived, a little cool room there. pack all the bananas in the cool room, and then you put this gas in it, like ethanol, or oh no, you don't. You wait until you have your bananas green in the room. Then, when you want to sell them, 2 days before, you put this gas in, this ethanol or ethyl, I don't know what it is, and they all ripen. And so then we used to employ a whole lot of men, and they all used to go out around the town and all be in their they'd have their 4 or 5 crates of bananas, and they would just sell 3 bananas for $1. We did that for about 2 years, I think. It's just
Yeah. It was just simple with me. It was just like, I go to the local Indian restaurant, they run onions or tomatoes, and then I said, how much are you paying for them with? And I knew how much they were paying for them, the local, and they'd say, oh, £5.40. I said, right, I'll do them for £4.80 for you. And I was buying them for £2.40. So I was doubling my money, and I'd be selling like 20 boxes. Boom, gone. And you know what I mean? It was just easy. It was just, my time was the killer. And I had young kids as well. It really killed me, like, but it just showed that it could be done. You know, and I've had ideas since. People have said to me, why don't you start your own bakery? And I said, well, no, I just can't. I'm not bothered anymore, you know. I don't want to anymore. Because like,
your energy levels change, hey?
yeah, it's like what it is. My friend I said about earlier, who had the old recipe books and stuff. He worked till he was 69. Worked all his life as a baker. Really, amazing baker. Really good friend as well. He got COVID. Within a week, he was gone. He never saw his retirement, and I just thought I was so upset about that it happened. I just thought, well, it's just not fair, you know. After I stopped working full time when I was 50, I was become a stay-at-home dad. It was like, no, I don't really want to go back to the rat race if I can avoid it, you know. If I have to, then I will. But I hopefully don't have to again now, you know. Hopefully I don't. And the first year or so after, I started in quite a lot from my paranormal channel, so it looked like I thought, oh, got what I wanted. I can stay at home and I can work from home, but that sort of like went downhill. But you never know what the future brings. But yeah, I said when I was a youngster, I want to retire by the time I'm 50, and a week before my 51st birthday I stopped working. So on my 50 I was still 50 and I finished work. So maybe a coincidence,
wow,
but
cool.
that was 34 years. How could I predict that? You know, when I was 16.
Yeah.
It's
that's
amazing
what I
how
did.
you can program your brain. You can
Yeah.
program your brain. Yeah, you really can.
Subconscious.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know. Now, whenever I was sitting there listening to you, the one thing that crossed my mind is, do you physically think you could do all that with the cabbages and the vegetables like you did back when you was younger?
I could do it, but I've just got no desire to do it. You know, I
Would it
just
hurt?
probably wasn't good for my health because the amount of time I was going out to sleep and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't brilliant because
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have an hour's sleep before I went to go there. I tried to go to bed early, I just couldn't sleep before I went. You know, I knew when I had to get middle of the night, drive for 2 hours there, drive 2 hours back. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And society's changed now.
I
You know, as
wouldn't.
well.
I wouldn't go out and buy my vegetables though. If I did it, I would maybe set up one of those newer versions of gardens where you set up gardens and then you rent out spaces to other people where they can garden in your areas with you. Something like that, you know what I mean? I'd go that route, and because I'm a lazy man, I'm not gonna go, you know, down to the market and get me like an entire truck full of food and have to sell it. Because, I mean, honestly, those guys, they bust their ass. I mean, excuse my language, but they do. They work hard, and a lot of people don't realize how much work they put into that. They
Yeah.
do. They do a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, it can be hard. Going, if the markets were closer, it might have been a different story. But it's a 4-hour drive there and back. You know, especially going in the middle of the night. And as you get back, you have to unload everything. And I usually have to hire a van, so I have to take that back, get my car, And then I'd be doing orders. I'd be delivering from 10 till 5 in the day, off and on, not solid, but off and on. I'd be delivering all day, so no chance to get any rest. And it's just, no. I'm lazy in my core as well. I just don't want to do it no more. You know, I've just done it all my life. I just can't be bothered now.
Exactly.
And my partner hates it that I'm at home, even though I had to stay home because with my son, because we looked into childcare costs and it was more than what I was actually earning at the time. And when we first looked into it, it was ridiculous. And her job is, she's quite got a high. She's quite high up in the NHS in the UK, yeah. So she's as high up as a nurse as she can go. And then the next step would be management. So I mean, I can't, as a baker, can't compare to that earning wise. I can't earn what she can earn and stuff. So I ended up doing what I did, and so it's gone from there. But no, not for me now. No way. I've worked all my life, from the age of 16 till I was 50, nearly all my life. And I think now, I was probably ill. I was ill as well when I stopped working for a bit. I think it's psychological, you know, because you sort of, I was I had to stop for a couple of years in my 40s because of personal reasons and stuff. And in fact, my health went downhill straight away once I finished work. And my health went downhill a little bit when I finished work again, but not as bad. But I think it does affect us, you know, because I know of a chap when I worked with in Tricoon, worked all his life, 40 years he worked there in Tricoon. A week after he retired, he was dead, just dropped down dead. So it's just like, what the hell, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that happening too.
Yeah.
Like retirement isn't really good for a lot of people. Like,
no,
it does them in. They just think it's over. So.
Yeah, sad.
Well, your job is really such a source of self-esteem. You know, this is like really where you feel like, oh, this is me. This is what I can do. And so when you don't have that, then it's a huge adjustment. Like who are you? If you haven't built up another life with hobbies and interests and people and everything, then and some people don't. Some people sort of work, as you say, in one job their entire life. That's all the friends they know, all the activities that they're engaged in. Without that, who are they, you know?
And you know, one thing that really sticks in my mind, and like it's always popped up, it's like expectations, you know what I mean? Like, especially when it comes to like different age groups. Like when you're young and you like, I didn't get married and everything, but I'm going to use it as an example. Like a couple gets married, right? So they're living in a nice small apartment or something like that together, and they're great until they find out that they're pregnant. So now they got a baby. So that means that they have to worry about more space. Sometimes it doesn't happen with one baby, maybe, but by the second one, they're usually looking for a bigger place to live at. So then they go out and they get this house for a family, and all of a sudden they start setting these expectations that they're going to, you know, get this house, pay it off, and then later on they're going to hand it over to their kids. Well, in the whole time that they're paying for this house and they're working that job, these kids are growing up, you know, and by the time they hit 18, guess what happens? They get a girlfriend, they get freaking married, and then they have babies, and then they buy their own house. And these two parents who planned on giving this house to this kid, or these kids, have a family of their own with their own houses. So they're kind of screwed because of their expectations way back when they said, we're going to pay this house off and we're going to give this to the kids, you know what I mean? So, and that's always stuck with me, you know, and like that's the way we get stuck into that mold, that way of living where we're supposed to live that kind of life, and it's a lie. We're lying to ourselves the whole time while we're doing it, you know, because your kids are going to grow up and they're going to they're gonna have a life of their own, but in your mind, you're not thinking that. You're thinking, I'm gonna give all this to you, you know. And by the time you're old enough to give all that stuff to them, they're looking at you like, man, why do I want all that old stuff for, you know? So
Mm.
now I'm gonna shut up. I think I might have said too much.
No, at all.
I think that's interesting. It is amazing how life has changed. It used to be that everybody just was in the same sort of pattern. It was just this expected thing. And then technology and everything started happening, and there were so many different jobs that started. It was just, the more we've developed, the more difference, the more, I don't know what it's called, like I don't want to say diversity, but that's the word that keeps on coming into my head. It's just that there's so many different things that you can do nowadays, that you can choose. You don't need to be stuck in that old mainstream way of thinking. You go to school, you get training, you get a job, you work your job, you retire, and you die. No, it used to be that your grandparents and your great-grandparents and your great-great-grandparents had all lived in the same house, and they didn't buy their own house.
Yeah.
No?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I don't know. The world has just changed a lot, and it's changing even more. It just seems like every few years, like, there's a massive paradigm shift. Like, who would have thought that we would all be back at war in 2023? The whole world is just suddenly disintegrated. Like, Clown World isn't a joke anymore.
Yeah. It's getting to the point where you sit and you look at all this stuff, and I mean, like, back when we were kids, we had the Cold War, you know what I mean? It was like,
Yep.
And our parents, they didn't want to see us going off to war, you know what I mean?
No.
We had just gotten over Vietnam, and our generation was pretty much protected, to be honest. We were sheltered from the whole going to war and killing people. And well, I mean, I know you guys didn't have to go through. Well, I think England did. They were involved in Vietnam, weren't they?
I don't think so, no.
No, they weren't.
Not England, no.
It might have been the French, but
Could have been the French, yeah.
you know, I mean, like with all these conflicts and stuff, with the Cold War, everybody was terrified of the bomb, and now you know the wall fell. And it's like this same, our generation basically went from where we were, where we never had to experience war, to sending our kids off to war and cheering them on as they go. It's like, what kind of mentality is that?
I know. It's horrendous. It's just, I was thinking the other day is that they don't know. They don't know. We grew up on those movies of the Second World War, and that terrible violence and all that poetry, you know, that anti-war poetry. And we sort of grew up on that. And then then there was the Vietnam War, of course, and then that like reinforced all that again. And then there was the Gulf Wars.
Yeah.
But then it all went quiet. And it's just like, it was all like, people stopped talking about the horror of war. It was not politically correct to let children know about these horrific things that happen. And so they don't know. They literally, the 20-year-olds do not know what it means. Yeah. They just have got no concept.
Well, some of them do now, because the other ones that are going over there, you know.
Well, it's starting. People are having
It's getting
wake
really,
up call.
it's getting really crazy.
With reference to what you said earlier, Bob, about the people like grandparents used to live in the same house as their and great parents used to live in the same house as each other and stuff. Where society's gone now, is the family spirit has gone. It's just not there like it used to be. It used to be. Now everyone's in their own little world on their phones. They're just not. Your grandma's in another room. Well, so what? Tap tap on your phone. They don't. It's just not the same. They don't respect their elders like they used to, like I did, and we all did, It's just none of that anymore. There's no respect.
No, there's no respect.
It's gone, We and when I grew up, we always had respect for our neighbours or elderly people and stuff like that. You saw someone struggling with a shopping, you go and help them. You wouldn't think twice about it. You don't just like now. Somebody's struggling with a shopping, they drop it on the floor. They just laugh and film it and put it on TikTok, something like that. You know what I mean? It's not. It's just it makes my blood boil.
I think it's because there's this huge fury among the young people that they can't afford to own their own homes. That the older generation had cars and 4x4s and homes and holiday homes and all the stuff that happened in the 90s, and that's all gone away.
Yeah.
And the young people look like, how come those old people had all that, but they haven't passed it on to us? They've obviously done us down. And so there just is no respect. There's resentment and fury and fear and anxiety and transgenderism and all sorts of identity confusion. And there's not respect and there's not family. And it's just like, it's always been through the ages that all the older people have complained about the younger people. And it's so funny for me because I think, but this time it's actually true. This time the youngsters really don't respect the older generation.
Yeah. Well, I've already said why they don't respect me. It's like, when I was growing up, my parents were the ones that said, turn your music down, okay? And now, it's the younger ones. It's my nephews, my nieces, and my son telling me, look, Dad, Uncle Roger, or whatever, turn your music down. It's too loud. You know what I mean? Now they're telling me. So I've got my
Yes.
parents telling me on one side when I was younger, and I got the younger ones telling me, now that I'm older, and I'm just not gonna listen to them. It's just like with my parents, man. My dad, I used to have my, shredded jeans and my concert shirts and everything. He'd try to sneak them out to the freaking garbage at night when I wasn't awake. And I knew he was doing it, so I'd slip out there and grab them out of the freaking garbage and bring them back in, It's like, he thought
We're the ones.
Yeah. I mean, and it's hard to really, for me to be mean with a lot of the younger ones about it, because I know where it started. It started with our generation. It
started with us. Yep.
We were the freaking rebels. I mean, think about it. You know what I mean? Like today, MTV isn't what it used to be. MTV used to stand for anti-censorship. You know what I mean? Now, look at what they're doing. I mean, they're showing, pregnant teenage girls and making them out to be, like superstars and stuff. I mean, talk shows, and there isn't even any music on it anymore. So it's just the whole generation has changed, and I don't think people have an understanding, like you said, about that stuff. You know what I mean? What all that stuff meant. Now people don't even care about being censored. Like, you go on Facebook, YouTube, and they can just censor you all the hell, But our generation didn't put up with that. And
No.
So it's kind of weird how that works, because like everybody always mentions the boomers and like how horrible they are. Like everybody's like, oh, them boomers are just so horrible. And these younger ones won't even argue with a boomer. Like they'll straight freaking blow them out of the water, you know. But
You guys are too young to be boomers. You are
yeah,
not
I
boomers.
mean, I'm talking about
Yeah.
real boomers. I'm talking about like 60 and 70-year-old people. Like these 20-year-olds won't even argue with a freaking 70, 80-year-old man. They won't do it. Them old people will bust them in the butthole and leave them walking home with their butt hurt. You know what I mean? It's like they don't put up
I
with
do.
it.
They don't.
And,
They don't care. They're furious.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is one of the scary things. Like, we've got this furious young generation, and we've got all this war happening.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not a good mixture. I mean, it is a very good mixture for the arms dealers, but for the sort of normal, although maybe it is what we need. Maybe it's what we need. Maybe it's what we need to realize our old values and the importance of family and how hard it is to actually bring people up and yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just the thing of like, what is it that good times make soft men and bad times make hard men or something? I don't know how it goes. That saying?
I've heard a shorter version. It's called "Hard Head Has a Soft Ass." Alright.
Guys, I'm gonna have to shoot. Pick my dog up.
Oh yes. Okay,
Yeah,
John.
I'll leave the thing running. But if you're still on when I come back, I'll rejoin. If you're not, then I'll catch you on
Okay.
mines later or something.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All
See you later,
right.
guys.
Lovely chatting. See you.
See you. Bye.
Later, man. Yeah, it's for me. I don't know. I noticed that when it comes to like the younger people being hostile and stuff, I think it really has to do with them just not wanting to listen to us. You know what I mean? So
Well, we haven't done very well, Roger.
yeah, I know.
We haven't done very well. We've been responsible for divorce. We've been responsible for abortion. We've been responsible for a lot of things that we let happen on our watch, sadly.
Yeah.
But, you know, life balances itself, and these kids have got a point, and things have gone out of balance, and if they can bring it back, then good on them. And, you know, we have done something right. We have done some things right. We're not, and I think every generation needs to be accountable and to answer for their mistakes. And every younger generation comes up, you know, and the young lions fight the old lions and progress. So
Yep.
it's a hard time, though.
One of these days I'm gonna go check it out because I haven't done it in a long time. But I'd like to go out or go and just check on like what the dropout rates are in school, like because I'm curious. With all the kids in my family, we haven't had one grandkid that has dropped out yet,
Wow.
and
Really, hey?
that's different from my generation because me, my sister, well, all of us, we dropped out. I ended up getting a GED, and so did my sister, my older sister, but my younger one never did. And every one of these kids ended up graduating, and they had good grades. I mean, I think they were all up in the I guess you'd say the 5.0, whatever it is. It'd be the equivalence of A's.
Nice. Yeah,
But,
good.
but
That's the way to do it. It's a shortcut, you know.
yeah,
It's
The-
a shortcut. Living these torturous lives on the edge. Okay, you know, sometimes it just happens. You know, Otto was saying it to me the other day. He was saying, people talk about people who have bohemian lifestyles as if it's so sort of romantic and such fun. And they look at us and they say, oh, well, you know, you don't need to keep 9 to 5 hours and you've done this and you've done that. And you know, yeah, okay, so there is that, but it's not actually fun. It's not
Yeah.
fun being unemployed. It's not fun not knowing where your next money's coming from. It's
Yeah.
not fun living with the regrets of knowing that you don't have that thing. I think one of my biggest regrets from my earliest, one of my very first regrets that I had was that I was never going to be one of those people that had a 50th wedding anniversary celebration with all their family and their grandchildren and their cousins and their everybody come to all drink a toast to you and say, "Good on you for making it for 50 years."
Oh yeah.
Because I didn't.
Yeah. See, that's the whole expectation creeping in thing too. Like, like all of us have it, and
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that to Karma about expectations, and you know, it's good to plan things, but just don't expect the outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's common sense, or little things. Like sitting and waiting for a bus. The bus says that it's going to be there at 10 o'clock. You don't have any control over that bus showing up at 10 o'clock. If it shows up at 10:05, it's going to show up at 10:05. Now,
Indeed.
if it does that every day, it shows up 10:05 one day, 10:45 one day, you might be able to call the freaking bus company and complain about it, but you still don't have any control. It's
Absolutely.
it's up to that bus driver making it there at 10 o'clock and not you. But we get frustrated and angry because we're expecting that bus to be there at 10 o'clock like the schedule says. you know
And you've got all these other plans. For me, it's that things cascade.
Mhm.
It's like you were talking about time schedules earlier. Like, having a time schedule is great, but it's only going to work if you keep to it.
Mhm.
Because as soon as you miss one appointment, everything is out.
Yep.
So yeah,
Last
sorry.
thing I remembered on that whole thing with expectations was like
yeah,
when I was in AA, I had my sponsor, and he kept telling me when it comes to appointments, you look at it like this, like interviews. Most people, whenever they're going to be late for an interview, they'll say screw it and they won't even show up, right? Well, he told me, he's like, if you know you're going to be late for a job interview, you still dress up and you show up. He's like, the whole important thing about it is that you showed up. You dressed up and you showed up. And
wow,
it took me a long time to figure that out, that
Mm.
it doesn't matter if you're early or if you're late. It matters if you show up, and it also matters if you dress for the occasion. You know what I mean? If you're going to a job interview, dress like you're going to a job interview.
wow,
And it
yeah,
it took somebody
that's
else
interesting.
showing me that, because I never really took the effort to try it. You know what I mean? It was like that wasn't my way of thinking. So
Mm.
in order for me to get over stuff like that, I had to learn that, And if you're having a bad day, you can always start over. It doesn't have to stay bad. Like right now, if you're having a bad day, you can always start your day over right now at this point. I never understood that,
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm battling to understand that. That's something that I'm right in the middle of,
you know,
is trying to take that control,
you know.
trying to believe that I could change something.
Well, you
That's
could
such a
just
big step for me.
you just start over. Like when you woke up this morning, how did it feel when you woke up? The first moment you woke up, did it feel good?
Mm,
You don't know for sure.
I can't remember.
See?
I'm really scared of waking up. I'm really scared of waking up. Yeah.
Have you-
That
have you-
moment of between sleep and wake where all the demons are still in my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a scary moment.
So
Yeah.
you have dream problems?
Well, yes and no. I've had post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
and one of the problems with that is recurrent nightmares. And so they gave me this medicine, and this medicine was developed as they intended to make it as a blood pressure medicine, but it didn't work as a blood pressure medicine. But it had this weird side effect that it stopped nightmares.
Yeah.
So they gave me this medicine, and it didn't actually work for me. But it stopped me having all dreams, all everything. So
Yeah.
there's just that little moment between sleeping and waking where everything sort of like just rushes in.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to normalize. I'm starting to going back to normal, to being aware of my dreams. But but I've really been messed up with the medicines that I've been on. They're really, really bad things, these psychiatric medicines.
That's pretty intense if you're having like a moment, like the data's being processed right as you open your eyes. That's pretty rough. So.
Yeah, it's not a proper. I don't think it's a proper natural waking up. These drug-induced, medication-induced, I should say.
Have you been?
So how long?
Have you
Sorry?
been trying meditations and stuff?
Yeah, I was Otto introduced me to meditation about 18 months ago.
Cool.
That's somebody started listening to my videos, and he started commenting and saying, "So many of your attitudes are really Buddhist. Have you tried meditation?" And I was like, no, I'm a Christian. Why would I meditate? And so he slowly and patiently explained, how it worked. So it's revolutionized my life. I've done more to change my life in the last 18 months than I have in the last 20 years in the mental health care system. Just getting out of it, getting off the medicine and beginning to meditate has completely changed my life. Before that, I was a zombie, a literal zombie.
Yeah. It's good that you're doing that, because I do think meditation works, and it's
incredible.
It helps you mentally, physically, and emotionally. You know what I mean? Well, I guess you could say mentally and emotionally separate, but like even just not just spiritual. You know what I mean? Like in all aspects, it just helps you. And when it comes to Christians too, on meditation, I learned this in recovery too. A lot of Christians will point out different little golden nuggets that are in Christianity, like Jesus on Mount Olive the night before he was betrayed. That was the night where he meditated so that he could gather his courage and face what he had to face. So that's something to think about too, right there. In the Passion, when they show the snake and everything, that's what it's a representation of, is him doing his meditation. So
right, yes.
So even Jesus meditated.
Absolutely. It's been amazing to me to discover how similar Jesus's message was to the Buddha's. At first I was amazed. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, how have I lived all my life and been told by all the Christians around me that Buddhism was not an option? And now I meet it and I see that it's so similar to Christianity. How can you say that this isn't an option? It's an obvious option. And there are some places where things are... I think the Buddha taught for like 45 years, whereas Jesus died right after 3 years. So the Buddha was able to expand on his message and go into all sorts of detail and everything that Jesus wasn't able to.
Yeah.
So for me, like learning meditation and learning the Buddha's teaching has really enriched my Christian understanding. Quite, not, it hasn't taken away from it or negated it. And I've now see how many references in the Bible, all the references in the Bible to meditation, that I didn't actually know what they really meant.
It's
like,
good.
Like like when you meditate upon this thing or something. I didn't know what that meant. I just thought that that meant you thought about things. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the Book of Psalms too. If you go
Yeah.
into the Book of Psalms, that's I guess little songs, hymns, things like that.
Yeah.
You can meditate on that. I mean, you can learn that as a part of your meditation. That's what the ancient Jewish people used to do with the Book of Psalms. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's good that you're recognizing that stuff too, because that's important. I know it sounds weird at first, but like when you start getting into it and everything, it does help you. So
Mm. Well, recognizing that my life was in the toilet and I couldn't do anything about it, and God had to step in. That was a pivotal, pivotal, pivotal moment for me.
yeah,
I mean, I've always had the concept of God in my life. Even when I was fighting with God and telling him that I didn't believe in him, I was still talking to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
still there. Like, what are you doing in my life? How dare you not look after me? Get away from me. Yeah, calm down, calm down. You'll be right.
I get a lot of heck from people too, because like, you know, not one time have I ever told anybody that I'm an atheist. Not one time that I ever tell anybody I was a Christian or a Jew or, you know, anything. I mean, I've always kept my spiritual beliefs private, and whenever I do that, everybody just assumes, you know, Roger's an atheist, you know. He doesn't have spiritual beliefs.
Interesting. Wow.
But the truth of the matter is just I was taught that that's not how you do it. You know, when I was when I first got into AA, I did I had to hit rock bottom too. You know, it was a different area, but I had to say enough was enough, and I didn't have anything. You know, so at that point, I think I crossed the threshold, you know, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to spirituality is thresholds. There's certain thresholds that you cross because of pain, because of anger, because of love, because of everything. There's different thresholds for different things, you know, and once you cross that threshold, your life changes. You know.
Oh, yes.
So.
I call it biting the apple.
Yeah.
Once you've bitten the apple, you can't unbite it.
Right.
Yeah.
And whenever I did that, what it was is I'd crossed the threshold, and it wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was the end, and it was actually the beginning. You see.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
Where one door opens, another one closes. You know what I mean? So when you hit that bottom and you cross that threshold, you're crossing through to a new beginning. It's just everything behind you is over. You see what I mean? So
yeah, yeah,
how-
I do. It completely changed, aren't you? It's like you've walked through a door.
It's
Yeah,
a lot of people call it a moment of clarity or a spiritual experience, or you can put a whole lot of names on it. You know, I just like to call it, you know, crossing a threshold. And once you cross that threshold, there's no going back. I mean, good. That's the way I've always had to deal with things, and I don't know. Go ahead.
How long did it take you to change your life around, Roger?
I'm still changing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff that I thought was bad was actually good. You know that, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
A lot of the stuff that I thought was good was actually bad. You know, trying to live a rigid life, walking a thin line, you know,
Yeah.
being what everybody expected me to be. That's bad. That's not good for you. You know, be
Mhm.
yourself. Um, if I can't be myself, who's gonna be me? You know what I mean?
That's true. That's
So,
true. Yeah, you got one job.
that's it. That's all I gotta do. I just gotta be me, man. And then that's not hard. That's not hard at all.
Wow.
You know what I mean? All I gotta do is act like a fool and tell people jokes. That's it.
Good.
It's like whenever I'm doing these streams and stuff, you know, all these guys are like, "Oh, Roger's got this synergy going on," and that word synergy started popping up. I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" I'm like, "All I do is sit here and talk to you. You guys are the show, you know." Because they are. They're completely, I mean, amazing. Every single person that's been around me is just amazing. All I gotta do is ask them questions and stuff, and they do the rest. But
Huh.
they're like, Roger has all this synergy and stuff. I'm like,
Well, that what you've just said sort of encapsulates it. What you find, what you just said is that you find these people to be really interesting.
hmm
And so I think that what people are picking up on is your enthusiasm for what other people are saying. They're like,
yeah,
wow, this guy Roger's really into this. And it does lift your spirits and carry you along when you listen to somebody like that.
yeah,
I was listening to Joe Rogan and The Rock today, and I was amazed at how motivated I felt by listening to them talk. It
yeah,
was just like it was they weren't talking about anything that I understood or was interested in. They were talking about these cars and V8s and this 1,000 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 1 second and all this stuff. I don't even know what it all means, but I just felt so good
yeah,
because they were having fun.
yep. And you're talking about cars. I mean, you want to
Yeah.
get guys happy. You just put them in a room and let them talk about cars. Okay,
I
that's it.
don't understand it. I don't understand boys and their machines.
Yeah. And then the ones that don't understand cars, they're the ones that are quiet. And they're like, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I know what
right.
you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. And that's it. You know what I mean? That's it.
Okay, that would be me. I would be with those guys. Oh, how nice! I know which spot the key is.
Yeah. You know,
Oh, dear.
oh John, he's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, we're not on topic no more, are we?
Oh, goodness, no, we're not on topic. Mind you, we've done old rambly people talking.
Yeah, I think.
Not that
I,
50 is really old, I have to say.
yeah, I really don't think 50 is really old at all either. Though,
No,
being
it's
honest,
just nice and symbolic. Half a century. No,
just
sounds
just
respectable.
just to let all these younger ones know, just so they know, like, you're so terrified of 50. When you get here, you're gonna be so thankful because, like, you're gonna look back when you're in your 30s and you're gonna be like, I cannot believe I did that crap. You know what I mean? And that's all I'm gonna say to the young ones. So
Do you find your life has gone in decades? Do you find that the 30s had a character, the 40s had a character, 20s had a character, and you can sort of like it's almost as if it starts and stops, and then you go to the next
hmm
number, and a different attitude, completely different attitude arises.
my my whole way of thinking, I recognized it changing when I hit 20.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, I was cool. Me and my buddies hung out. I'd leave the house. We'd go to like that electrical box where everybody hung out at and sat down on and talked. Maybe walked to the store. And we were always cool. And then I hit 20, and I looked around and I was like, man, where's all these people that I used to hang out with? We'd go over to the corner and hang out with one another and just bullshit, stuff like that. And like, well, they're all going out, getting married, having kids, and here I am, 20 years old. So all of a sudden, I had to start getting responsible. And then by the time 30 came around, I was actually on my 30th birthday. I was in rehab for a 3-month program, and so that tells you what happened in those 10 years, And like my teenage life was a part of it too. You got somebody who wants your attention. You reach down and
Hello, you. Yep, he did. It's time.
he
I'm
woke
here.
up.
Yep.
He woke
You
up.
can scratch me. The
He's
funny
like-
old boy.
He's like, Mommy, give me some rubbins. Good cat.
John said that I should put a webcam on him so that he had his own camera.
Give him his own special space. He's a superstar.
Yes, he's a superstar. He is a superstar. Gee.
He's been sitting there relaxing the whole time.
And when I come in, he knows when I'm going to do a stream. He knows. He comes here and he's like, he deliberately participates. And like what we've been talking for an hour, and now he's woken up and he's saying, "Okay, here we go. I'm here. You're ready to finish now, aren't you? You can brush me."
He's a good kitty.
Hey, you funny.
Let me see real quick.
Oh well.
Yeah. So, I don't know if he's gonna be coming back or not. It's 6:15 here. What time?
All right. Yeah, it's 1:13 a.m.
Okay.
So it's
You-
bedtime.
you get-
Oh, look!
There he is. There he
Oh.
is. We got him. Okay. I'm so glad you're here.
Why is that?
We completely just like derailed on the topic, man. I'm sorry. You should never have left me with a lady, okay? Because you know how I am. I just can't stay on topic. We talked about spiritual stuff and things.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Not you, Roger. Not spiritual stuff.
No, not me. She did all the talking.
All right.
Isn't that right? But
Oh, dude, we had the most amazing conversation. It was wonderful. It's been
Oh,
a
I was still
lovely
recording it.
evening.
I was still recording it, so I'll
Oh, so you're going to be able to go back and
Yeah,
check
yeah.
up to see what we said.
be. Yeah. I left everything on. I just ran out the house. Only thing I forgot to put on back on now is my light, but it seems to be working all right. Without it.
yeah. How's the dog doing?
Yeah, he's good. He's tiny, you know. All his hair's gone.
Oh, you got a comb. Oh, you got a brush and you got
I was going
manicure.
to put him on camera, but he wouldn't settle on me. He'd be gone, and I'd have to run after him and stuff. So I didn't put him on camera. He's looking at me now.
I told you about that the other day when I went up to the store, didn't I?
What about?
I walked up to the store, and getting there, when I go up there, I have to pass this little Chinese restaurant. And so I walk past this little Chinese restaurant, and there's like a little booth in the back parking lot of it, and you would not guess what that is. It's a freaking booth where you can take your animals, pay a quarter, and freaking clean them right there inside of it. It's got a little
Oh, yes.
glass door and everything.
Yeah, you did tell me. Yeah.
I cannot believe that. Yeah, I did tell
Animal
you.
bath.
It's crazy, but you go in there and you pay it like you do at a car wash.
How cute.
It's interesting. So you're gonna have to bring us to task, Don. What are we doing here, man?
What's that?
I said you're gonna have to bring us to task here. So what are we doing, man?
I don't know. Are we all talked out? Are we ready to finish, or what are we doing?
Oh, I'm all right. It's 1:15 in the morning for Bob Dub, so
Yeah.
It's a little late. I could happily say good night to you, gents, and thank you for a wonderful evening.
oh,
It was a
it's,
great talk.
it's been great for me too. And
You.
I'd like to tell you too, if you come in here any day you want to, all right, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
You've
Yeah.
always said good stuff, so.
No, she doesn't say that to me.
Okay, well, I'll leave you two guys to discuss that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll see you again soon.
Oh,
Peace, you guys. Bye.
bye.
Bye. You have a good one, John.
Yeah.